Good evening. Welcome to the new party. I'm Nora Christine.
I'm about to give a really unpopular opinion, and I'm sure it's going to be especially unpopular amongst women.
I'm Gray Mars. Break a record by being with 100 men in one day. And right after she was done, she recorded a documentary.
I'm a vegan weed. Call yourself fresh and wear the same weak ass turtleneck on every show. Goddamn. Then we got goddamn the Sudanese Sambo. Bruh, man.
And I'm Enzo.
Bringing up in my lives is they're like, oh well, he's violating the Constitution by having a meme coin and him making money off it in office and everything like that. I was like, if that was the case, like there would be lawsuits up the ass and impeachment in court.
I'm skeptic. Like I always say, don't let anybody trample on your constitutional rights.
I'm Mia. That's not a correct power dynamic in my mind. Typically, the people that are trying to be removed are not in control. That's why they're easily being removed.
The government, the states, they start putting these RICO acts on Diddy, all of these guys, and try to put it on these ongoing criminal organizations. I ain't never seen the government put a RICO act on the KKK.
Oh, that was fire.
Yeah.
I like that, though. I like that.
The person that's dealt with some people in the industry, I can personally tell you, most of them are bullshit. Most of them got something going on and they crazy, and they will have you. I'm talking about they'll have you crazy.
Yeah, you look professional, bro. You look real professional.
Switch happened. Come on, man. You gotta acknowledge this. This is the problem that I have with elders like you, because you fail to acknowledge that this stuff has happened. We down.
That mean I'm doing my job.
Hey. If we sit there and be old school, we gonna miss the boat. You know, a lot of this kids 19 years old buying houses with Bitcoin, buying Maserati.
Wow.
Disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed on this panel show are those of the individual speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of this channel, its affiliates, sponsors, or production team. This content is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. We encourage respectful dialogue and critical thinking around the topics discussed.
It's gonna come out how it come out. You feel me? Yo, none of this is rehearsed. Everything is off the top.
Vulgar. Welcome to the man cave. Yo, what's good? Welcome back to the man cave. Thank y'all for coming and joining us. I know we got some crazy shit to talk about tonight. But before we get to how Trump magically caused these floods, we got some Negro news and some other important stuff to catch up on. I am Vulgar.
I'm Gray Mars Vulgar. You got an echo. Mia, go ahead.
I'm Mia.
I'm Enzo.
Doc.
I'm Heaven.
I'm Doc. What's up, everybody? Sorry, I'm late.
I still got an echo.
No, you good.
All right. Cool. Like I said, thank everybody for coming. I guess I'll get started with the first video.
It's still kind of staticky, but after you play the video, I guess just play around with it.
Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. It's nominating you for the Peace Prize, which is well deserved, and you should get it.
Thank you very much. This I didn't know. Well, thank you very much.
Greg, can you take over for me real quick? Or start?
Yeah, I got you. So I guess that was Trump supposedly trying to get the World Peace Prize, I think, the Nobel Peace Prize. And I think Netanyahu's the person that put him up for it. Mia, do you think he deserves it?
It's just ironic that it's Bibi that puts him up for the World Peace Prize after we just went in and essentially saved Bibi's behind. I find that hilarious. I mean, who am I to decide if somebody deserves the World Peace Prize? We're only 5 months in, 6 months into his presidency. I mean, he's done some pretty good stuff, but I mean, World Peace Prize, I mean, last time I checked, there's still a few skirmishes going on around the world that he said he was going to stop, that he hasn't stopped yet. So, I mean, a little premature. And it's just funny that it's Bibi.
Enzo?
I'm with Mia on that about Bibi. I think it's hilarious that Mr. War Crime is nominating Trump. I will say that. But just based off of what he's done so far with all of these peace agreements and trying to cool down the Middle East, I haven't seen any president in my lifetime that has tried to cool down the Middle East to the extent where Trump has. So I will say, I mean, that's, in my eyes, it's worth it at that point, just based off of what he's done thus far.
Heaven? What do you think about Trump getting a Nobel Peace Prize? You think he deserves it?
Mm-hmm.
Heaven? Yeah.
From Bibi, one is hilarious, laughable, beyond laughable. We've been witnessing genocide labeled by the International Court and the global community that Trump seems to forget that we're a part of. I don't see anything that he has done in his time in office as peace worthy. Who is at peace right now? Are the American people at peace with their cuts to their Medicare and their Medicaid? Are us veterans at peace with how much they're cutting from us? Who's at peace? Is the Middle East at peace? No. Is Ukraine on the edge of losing, which means the rest of the world will be at Russia's disposal? Yes. So no, I think that it's laughable that he's being nominated, and even more so laughable by a wanted war criminal that we continue to host here in the United States.
Doc?
Getting a peace prize from a guy who constantly is in some sort of conflict is kind of comical to some extent. I mean, I didn't even know Netanyahu could spell the word peace. So that's pretty entertaining. You know what I'm saying? I thought it was out of his vocabulary completely. So the fact that, we know he can spell it, we're going to see if he can practice it. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I think Trump did his job, is doing his job. I don't think you get an award for that. It's a lot of presidents who've navigated tricky, foreign situations. So I don't think he deserves an award for that. I mean, doing his job. I'm not going to Burger King and giving the supreme burger maker the Nobel Peace Prize because he made my Whopper with the cheese melted just right like I like it. You know what I'm saying? So Trump don't deserve nothing, man. He's doing his job, man. Get out. And he's making a bunch of money. Give his ass none.
He won it because of Obama got it. But Vo, were you good?
Yeah, how I sound?
Yeah, you sound way better. Go ahead.
Nah, it was the browser, Chrome browser acting up.
Okay.
Had to switch. I think he deserves it. I think he's doing what the last few presidents been afraid to do. Like he's really doing the stuff regardless of whether he's liked or not. He's not trying to appease people. Some far as policy, he's not. He's doing what needs to be done. So I personally think he deserved it because what he did in Iran was like, they've been working on this 15, 20 years, this plan for that. And he was the one that wasn't afraid to push the button on it. So I think he deserves it.
You can go to the next topic so we can all be on the same page.
All right. All right. So this is a little off subject, but I seen this early, and I think it's something that really need to be discussed. Dr. Umar, a lot of stuff he say is crazy, but I agree with him what he said on this. I guess a broken clock can be right 2 times a day, unless it's military time. All right.
Should be getting evaluated for anything except speech under the age of 7. Did y'all hear what I said? Not reading, not math, not comprehension, not intellectual, not emotional, not ADHD, conduct disorder, and why not? Why is Dr. Umar saying you should never let a black child get evaluated under the age of 7? Because the earlier the child is, the more likely we can get the diagnosis wrong, Baba. You feel me? Because when a child is young, they're still growing and learning. There's no psychologist in America that can tell you for certain that your 3-year-old is autistic. Now, autism is real, but autism is often misdiagnosed. Why? Because we get them evaluated too soon. And the reason we get them evaluated too soon, Baba, the reason the preschools push it is they want the special ed money. Did y'all hear me? They want the special ed money. They don't care about your child. They want the money. And since special ed begins at 3, if you silly enough to let them evaluate a 3-year-old, okay, they'll put them in special ed so they can get that money. A special ed child is worth on average twice as much as a regular child. So let me give you an example. Let's say Cleveland Public School spends $10,000 a year on a child, Bob, a regular child. Right. The minute I say he's autistic, the minute I say he's emotionally disturbed, the minute I say he has a reading problem, he ain't worth 10. He worth 20. And they get the extra 10 every year. So if you put your second grader in special ed and they get an extra $10,000 a year, by the time he graduates from 12th grade, that's $100,000 extra for one. So how much money do they get in Cleveland schools for 100? How much is the special ed budget in Cleveland schools for 1,000? They are literally pimping our children in the name of miseducation. And the saddest thing is most of our children who have been determined to be learning disabled are not learning disabled. You know what their real problem is? Lazy disabled. They don't want to learn how to read. They don't feel like learning how to count. They don't feel like learning how to comprehend. And guess what, parents? A lot of you are guilty too, because you are raising lazy ass black children. They do what they want when they feel like it. What is the number one job of a black parent in America after you teach your child to love themselves? It is to teach your child discipline. And what is Dr. Umar's definition of discipline? It is the ability to do what you don't want to do when it has to be done, whether you like it or not.
So yeah, he was right on this one, in my opinion. Go around and get your opinion, Heaven.
He said a lot. I think majority of the things, though, he is absolutely right on. Absolutely right. But I think it's a lot deeper of a conversation because our education system is broken. Period. And I don't think our children are lazy necessarily. I think that schools are underfunded, teachers are underpaid, and children are overstimulated. And if we give them better tools. No.
Do you put too much pressure on the school system and not enough on parents?
No. I mean, I'm a parent. I'm also a parent of a disabled child. And I also have some, they absolutely do hold children back on purpose. I've been fighting for years to get my child back to just where she was before we switched school districts, because they changed her IEP and put her from regular classes like she was with her one-on-one assistant, just going with her, to a classroom with 3 children who have very little cognitive abilities and functioning.
Yeah.
And they don't teach, and that's, I think, it's an issue, but the systemic issue is much deeper. But I agree with him on majority of the things except for the lazy. I think our kids are traumatized. They get shut up in school. You know what I mean? Anybody that's been to a war zone or had to train to go to a war zone, you know what that's like. Your nervous system is dysregulated. When it's dysregulated at a younger age, it causes the brain neurologically to become dysregulated, and then they can't absorb the information. So I don't think it's that they're lazy and they don't want to learn. I think parents choose to use that as an excuse instead of making real change in systems that need real change. But other than that, yeah, psychologists, psychiatrists, they will not do like therapy with young children. So to get younger children diagnosed with disorders, to me, is baffling and unacceptable.
Yeah, I beg to differ on that. I got experience with my daughter going through that. But Enzo or Doc, yeah, I have kids. Y'all don't have to answer, but
Yeah,
Okay.
I got kids. I got 2 kids.
Go for it.
So part about what he said is I don't know when the last time a lot of people been to these low income communities, you know what I mean? I still go back to where I'm from now to this day. 4th of July, we went out there, we had something for the kids. When you get these school districts that are underfunded and you tell them, hey, you know, this might be a way to scheme more money for the school district that we need for the kids, what else do you expect these school districts to do? What do you expect these kids to do? And I think it's not a reality that people don't realize. Like, Dr. Umar not in these communities. He might say that, but I don't think Dr. Umar really in the trenches in the hood. Like, that's not a real thing. I don't think he really realized what these kids need and the education they need and what it feel like going to school in these locations. It's been a long time for him. Some of these schools is doing what they got to do. And I'm not going to knock a person because I know the love these teachers got. You know, I went to a school where, you know, we didn't have the best funding, and the teachers love us to death. I got teachers who still message me and call me today and, hey, I'm happy to see your kids look beautiful, all that. But, you know, sometimes they got to do what they got to do, and they realize that they in a tough situation and they handcuffed, and sometimes they doing what they got to do. Because let's just be real, it's some kids that's not going to make it. I went to school with a dude, we was in 10th grade together. He was 20 years old. I ain't never seen bro go to class. You know what I'm saying? But that's just real. That's what's going on. You know what I'm saying? And even if you kick him out, you know, they can't kick him out of school. And it's a lot of that going on. Like, some of these schools don't have no choices. And it's hard for you to say what somebody should or shouldn't do until you sit in that chair and you got to make that choice for them kids. And you got to put what you think is best for the majority first, even if it hurts the minority.
Well, yeah. Yep. Mia.
So I have 2 kids in the school system currently, one high school, one middle school. And, you know, there's a lot of truth to what Dr. Umar says, especially when it comes to getting psychological diagnoses for children under the age of 8. You can't, their brains are still pliable. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. You can't adequately do that. And a lot of parents don't think to get their water tested and all of these radon testing and stuff like that, and food that can actually mimic autistic symptoms from the food and the heavy metals that you're eating. that a lot of people don't think, or a lot of providers like doctors, physicians won't test for. So you would be absolutely surprised. There's fantastic TED Talks of this woman whose son had an autistic diagnosis because he was freaking out and he was having a lot of issues. Come to find out, he was allergic to red 40 and like yellow 10. Once she removed all of those, the kid, fine, straight A student, perfectly fine. You would be absolutely surprised at how sensitive a lot of children are to the air quality, the food quality, and the water quality. And a lot of people don't think that all of the outside environmental factors can factor into how your child is, which is why psychologists don't see children so young. And I think a lot of people are looking for that money because they do get extra money when children have IEPs or a 504 plan. My daughter recently went through an ADD diagnosis, but she's going to be 12. So for me, that was appropriate. We have years of documentation of her just needing a little help. And now she has a plan in place. So now that she's in middle school, she won't get sent to the principal's office. They'll know to just give her additional help, which is basically what I wanted. But I waited till she's going to be 12. And that just seems more age appropriate to me to wait longer till they're more grown up. They've gone through school. Now we're going to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And I feel like way too many people are just looking for a diagnosis, whether they're virtue signaling or, you know, how people are when they have. Some people are looking to get extra love from the outside world instead of looking at possibilities to change the trajectory of their child, such as food, air, and water. I don't think students these days are inherently lazy. The problem is education starts at home. The problem is you need to read to your child. You need to take them off the tablet. You need to take them off the computer. You need to put them outside. The problem with children now is most of them can't even lift their legs up to climb a tree. That's the problem. There's interesting TED Talks from physical therapists that work with children. And now these kids, since they get so little exercise, their mobility's crap, their center of gravity's crap. Like we have an entire generation of kids that can't even climb trees because they literally cannot hyperextend their legs to climb. That's the problem. These kids aren't stupid. They're just bored. They're not lazy. And parents aren't doing everything they can. You can be poor and read a book. Socioeconomic status does not stop you from talking to your child, from engaging with your child, from asking them how their day is, from paying attention to emails. Literally, nothing. Poverty, money has nothing to do with that. It takes 2 seconds to talk to your child and ask them how their day is. I literally ask my kids how their day is. Did they do their homework? That has nothing to do with, that's just culture. And we have to admit that sometimes we have very terrible culture. Earlier this year in Cincinnati, there was a senior that was supposed to graduate who actually had never attended a class in 4 years and had failed for 4 years. And the mom is on TV crying and saying, my baby, where the hell were you for 4 years? Your child was in high school. You clearly didn't ask them. You clearly didn't talk to them. You clearly didn't see any of the correspondence. Teachers are trying, but parents are lazy. It takes 2 seconds to check in on your child. And a lot of people would rather be on TikTok, Instagram, and all of these things than actually look at their child and ask them how they're doing. It takes seconds to read to your kid. And I'll land with that.
All right. Enzo, you got any input on this?
I mean, Mia pretty much said everything that there is to say about this entire topic. All I can really say is autism is misdiagnosed. I will say that, and I do see to an extreme. Some kids are lazy. They'd rather sit inside, sit on an iPad. I see it with my godson, and it annoys the living shit out of me. Anytime that I speak to him, I'm like, Amber, get this kid fucking outside. He's 8 years old. Stop letting him sit there on an iPad and play Fortnite all day. Go climb a tree, scrape your knee on the ground, put some dirt in, and go play football in the street like we used to do back in the day. Oh, that's what he wants to do. And I go, yeah, I'll be down there in September. I'm taking him for a week. He ain't going to see a fucking tablet. That's exactly how I was raised. We did not go inside. We didn't sit there. We were outside every single day. So technology is just terrible. It's rotting the brains of everybody. And it includes the parents that are letting them do that. Be like, oh, well, if I just sit him over there and put an iPad in his face, I don't got to deal with him for a couple hours. That's what it is nowadays. And it starts there with me.
Gray?
First, I want to shout out King J. He's normally on here with us. He'll be back in like 3 weeks. He told Doc that he's his voice while he's gone. I 1,000% disagree with the autism thing because for me, my personal experience, I have a cousin that's a girl, but we were born like months apart and we're like very close. And she has a son that's autistic and he can't speak. So like all through like school, he had to go to different doctors, different stuff. And my oldest daughter learned sign language just to talk to my cousin's child. So that was all through, doctors and the school system. So it may be a money grab, but my personal experience, I have a family member that, learned how to speak sign language through certain programs.
Yeah. My personal experience, I was one of those kids. I wasn't like in the special class or anything, but I didn't do well in school. Like there was literally a point in high school where I had a 1.4 grade average and ended up dropping out. I got my GED. I still went to college, but what it was for me, my parents, like my dad's alcoholic, my mom was mentally disabled, and my grandparents raised me. They were old. Like my grandfather just passed last year at almost 100 years old. So there was no discipline for me. Like I literally was in the street, waking up on my own. Like my grandfather, he was hardcore, but he just had a limit. Like, the man was in the 60s and 70s raising me. So I went through that. Life had to teach me. And then to what Mia's saying, the one thing that helped me focus and really get back on track and start to become a man, even though it happened for me my early 30s, magnesium. I'm glad you said that about the diet because once I started doing like magnesium, eating foods with magnesium, potassium, and things like that, I was able to focus better. And growing up, I didn't have a lot of that. You could even eat regular foods, but a lot of the foods, these minerals and stuff are farmed out of the soil. So a lot of things you would think like spring mix or whatever carries magnesium is not there like they say it is. So I supplement with that to this day and it helps me. But as far as the school system and the education, I think we put too much pressure on the education and school system. I am a product of the poorest schools in KCMO, in Kansas City. I went to the inner city schools. I grew up in the hood. I had a small house. So I'm going to tell you, I was that poor kid, even though it didn't feel poor growing up. But parents were not there. You had a PTA meeting, probably 5 to 10% of parents showed up. I know I didn't go to my grandparents wasn't going to, I think they went to one PTA meeting. That was it. My parents I can't really tell you what a PTA meeting was really about because it just didn't happen. I remember it was one girl in our class, her mom would always volunteer at the schools, but you rarely seen parents. A lot of these inner city schools are just daycares. It's like the same thing with Job Corps. That's a daycare for grown folks. And a lot of these inner city schools are just daycares for the kids. And not saying nothing against the parents, because a lot of these parents they're single parents and they got to work. You don't have the 2-parent household anymore where one person can work and the other person, maybe they work a little bit, but they're totally focused on the kids. To me, I feel like what Dr. Umar is saying is true in that fact. And the other thing too is I think a lot of single parents are pushing therapy and stuff on these kids. I had a personal experience with my youngest where her and her mother was going to therapy. They tried to get me involved. I refused. I just felt like my daughter needed an ass whooping. I still feel like that. I feel like a lot of kids just need ass whoopings. They don't need therapists. They don't need them probing in their life, asking a bunch of questions at 4 or 5 years old. The 2-parent household has to come back.
Vulgar, RJ has a question for you.
All right. Say if the schools are segregated. Actually, the schools in my city weren't segregated through elementary and middle, but they went back to a neighborhood school system in high school. So you literally was assigned to the nearest school to you in my high school, and our school district lost accreditation. I haven't checked in since I've been out. That's over 20 years ago. I don't know if they got that accreditation back, But the time that I graduated, my GED meant more than the high school graduates in my city because the school system was so bad.
Wow.
Yep. So y'all out here, passport bros and all y'all that's like trying to sleep around and get all the women you can, the women that's on Bumble and Tinder just getting ran through and y'all end up pregnant, this is what's gonna happen. We got to get back focused on the family because a lot of these kids are just accident babies. And people still want to live their life, hot girl summer, whatever it is, and the kids are getting left behind. We can't just push all this on the school. Sometimes I don't blame these doctors and stuff for hustling. You know what? These parents are just going to not pay attention to their kids and push them out there. You know what? Why not? Why not make money off of it? That's what we got to realize. If we not on our stuff, people are going to come in and scam us. Why y'all quiet?
We wait for the next topic.
Right, I think everybody said everything needed to be said.
I don't think it's a scam though. I don't think it's a scam because you just spoke
in
on
some
it. You just
cases
said
it needs to be, it sounds to me like, because I know for my child, and it sounds like you needed it too, Vulgar, and you know, for some kids they do need it.
Need what?
But
parents?
Well, no, I mean, yes, but no, to have their diagnosis and have the help and the school get that funding, because some kids do need it. But when, you know,
Yeah,
the other things aren't looked at.
Yeah,
first.
I think some that are disabled.
I think the thing is though, Dr. Umar is not talking about kids from affluent neighborhoods. He's talking about people from, you know, poor to low income neighborhoods. You had grandparents. That's a blessing. Hey, it's a kid out here who ain't got nobody at the house. Ain't no mama coming home. His mama smoking crack. He raising his little siblings and stuff like that. I know a partner like that. You know what I'm saying? Taking them to school. You know what I'm saying? And it ain't no, you know what I'm saying? So it ain't no parents. When he say we gotta have your parents at home, man, that is just ain't a reality when you get to these real poor situations. Some people get lucky, like having grandparents is a blessing. Everybody ain't got it. You know, it just ain't gonna always work out like that.
I'm about to play your topic that you wanted to talk about. And Mia, I didn't find the little cop thing you was talking about, but this has been going viral, so this is big.
We turn now to the latest on the investigation into the mass shooting in Philadelphia's Grace Ferry neighborhood. Detectives are now trying to identify the 3 gunmen who shot 12 people, killing 3 of them early Monday morning. Action News reporter Sharifa Jackson joins us live from police headquarters. And Sharifa, Action News just got an update from Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel.
Yeah, that's right. We did, Nydia. He says there's a lot of surveillance video, a lot of cell phone video that they have to sort through. But because of this, they have a lot of significant leads as they continue to search for those suspects.
We're going through our process. Homicide is, methodically going through the evidence.
This is the new flyer shared by Philadelphia police overnight. Detectives are pointing out these 3 shooters, one with what they say has a distinctive backpack, another image showing a profile shot of this shooter's face. This ring video is part of the police investigation. It shows the intense exchange of gunfire on the 1500 block of South Edding Street just before 1 a.m. Monday. In all, police say 12 people were shot. 3 of them died, including 19-year-old Jason Reese, 23-year-old Zahir Wiley, and 24-year-old Azir Harris. Action News spoke to Harris's father.
They took a piece of me that it's gonna be hard to fill that space.
During this emotional interview, he shared how Azir survived a drive-by shooting when he was 17 years old. He was left paralyzed and in a wheelchair, but he didn't let that stop him, advocating for gun violence survivors ever since.
He had a big heart to be this age, and he thought outside the box so much. He wanted more than just a wheelchair. He wanted more. He wanted more life.
Police hoping to drum up tips and bring peace to the Harris family and everyone else impacted by this mass shooting, as Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel vows.
We continue to emphasize our work around gun violence and really being effective in going after individuals with guns and holding those individuals accountable.
Yeah, many of the injured, they remain in the hospital today. The youngest victim, only 15 years old. Again, police, they continue to investigate. We're live from Philadelphia Police Headquarters. Sharifa Jackson, Channel 6, Action News. Tam?
All right, Sharifa, thank you for that.
That's what you was talking about, right, Doc?
Yeah, man. They said it's one of the deadliest weekends in Philadelphia history. It's just crazy. And then, I think this go back to what, just the last topic we was on. Some of these kids is living in this environment and it ain't nowhere else for them to go. You see the dude who they showed his face, he got a switch on his, you know what I'm saying? And it's jumping. He ain't really got, you know what I'm saying? He not the greatest shot. You know what I'm saying? Some of these kids, they don't go home to a situation where they even gonna have a chance to see themselves grow up to check out their dreams. So when they go to school, it's kind of like a foregone conclusion for a lot of these kids. And I don't know what the solution is on how to change it. You know what I'm saying? It's a big change. Something need to be done. You know what I'm saying? People need to be more active in the community and stuff like that. But this the reality for a lot of people who live in these low income neighborhoods and these type of environments. That's what they're going home to. That's a regular day. So
for sure. Mia, you was trying to talk about something good that a cop did. You could maybe tie that to like this and like what can cops do to like help resolve this? Can it be like prevention where it's a neighborhood cop and he gets to know the community? Like, what do you think?
So just to touch base on the story, essentially there was a young teenage boy who his membership to a like gym that had like, basketball courts and stuff like that had run out, and he kept like kind of sneaking in. And after like the third or fourth time that the manager of this facility caught him, they're like, hey, if you catch him again, call the police. Well, they caught him again. They called the police. However, the police officer, after hearing the kid and recognizing something in him, actually paid for 3 months of a gym membership for this young man so he could go play basketball. So he didn't end up on the streets because he recognized like that's what this young man wanted to do. That's what this teenager wanted to do. He just wanted to play basketball. He just wanted to be at the courts, and he obviously just wanted to be someplace safe. So the police officer, instead of arresting him, actually took out his wallet and paid for 3 months of this membership. And then the actual company that owns the facility ended up giving this kid, I think, an entire year's free membership as well once they heard what happened. So, for me, it was just like, it's nice to hear a positive story about police because there are good, decent people out there that do want to do good for the community. I think we're at a disadvantage in the Black community because so many bad things have happened with people in power that we all naturally distrust people in power. I mean, there's a famous quote from our president saying, if the government comes to you and says, we're here to help, you need to fear them. Because it's true. We've seen multiple times through multiple agencies that, they're not always there to help depending on the situation. However, I feel like we need to fix the lack of family culture. The police can patrol, they can do outreach. We've sunk billions of dollars in these communities all over the United States. I mean, billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars over the last 6 years we have sunk. But the only thing we haven't changed is the culture. So it doesn't matter how much money we throw, how much funding we give. If we don't change our culture within ourselves, parent our children better, why are we marching when a police officer unalives someone, but there's no march for this? We see this every day. Why is the community that lives there not marching? Why are we not marching for this? These are things that could help change our community. People in that community know exactly who those shooters are, but they don't turn them in. Even though they know they have unalived 3 people and injured 9 others, they're not turning them in. So I think a lot of it comes down to culture. We need to change ourselves and go back to almost Black Panther ways where we actually took care of the community. We made sure we were good. We held each other accountable. We did our own neighborhood watch of sorts. Like if we don't start policing ourselves and start doing better, there's nothing the federal government can do for us. They can give us all the money in the world, but if we don't change how we view our community and how we view our neighbors and actually want to be neighborly and want to make sure kids are safe, nothing's going to change.
Heaven, what do you think?
I feel like I have an interesting perspective, because I was that kid who was out in the street, who had a weekend dad and a non-existent mother, and married a crack dealer at 17 and was on the run from the feds. Sometimes, majority of times in those situations, the kids don't even know how to love themselves to get themselves out of that. And it takes a village. And there are police officers that are, well, at least in my experience, there were 2 police officers that I will remember for the rest of my life. Officer Hardy and Officer Moses, and they used to come and they knew the kids that got the free lunch, and they'd give us money for ice cream because we didn't have the money for ice cream, and the other kids always got the ice cream, so they'd give us a little money for ice cream. And I think that the police are dangerous, and I don't blame the community for not calling and telling, because they do know those children, I'm absolutely sure, but those look like children to me. The human brain isn't fully developed until 25, 26 years old. So had those children had a proper community, as it takes a village, that's not just a saying, that's a fact. It takes a village. It takes someone outside of the immediate family for a child to go to when they don't feel like they can talk to their parent or whoever is around, because that does happen. No one's perfect. But if we had those communities set up, if we had that family structure, in whatever family we create, sometimes it's not always the ideal family. But we can create support for these communities. The community that I live in currently is extremely underfunded. And these kids need a lot of support, and they're not getting it. And the teachers are tired, and the cops are underpaid, and abusive in nature. In their establishment was abuse in general.
Enzo?
So I mean, I have another perspective on it too. I don't think it's even just a low income issue, or like some people are saying in the chat, like a black culture thing or a hood culture thing. Take it from me, somebody who grew up very affluent until 2008, 2009, when the financial crisis hit and my dad lost everything. At that time, my dad became an addict on drugs and everything like that, and that's when everything started going downhill. My teenage years, I was out there with them doing the same shit too. I'm not just some prissy little white kid that had everything handed to him my entire life. No, I was out there in the streets fucking doing the exact same shit, running with bad kids. And it took until I was like 17, 18, 19 years old to really get out of that, because of the bosses that I had that took me under their wing and said, this isn't gonna be your life. Like, you need to straighten out your shit and stop thinking like this is the only way to get around. Mentors are the biggest thing outside of your family, like Kevin was saying. And I attribute everything to my old bosses, Nick, and then Christina, Tom, everybody that I worked with that took me in when I was 17 years old. gave me a job and taught me everything I know and got me out of that mindset. Because if I would have kept going down that mindset, I don't realistically think I would have been here today. So I mean, it's a sad thing for young kids to be doing all this in the street and everything like that. But if you don't have the right guidance, sometimes that's all you guys know, and it doesn't matter if it's you're coming from a white community, black community, people with money, people with no money. Like a couple kids that I grew up with, prominent hockey stars, got into the street life. 2 of them are in jail. One of them's dead, and the one that was dead was being scouted at 13 years old by the Florida Panthers to be a goalie. Lost his life at 17.
Wow.
Threw his life away like that, all because of drugs and this the lifestyle like that. So it's an unfortunate thing, and I really do think parents need to do better, or kids need to find mentors, or people do more in the communities, in every community, to help out more, so stuff like this doesn't happen. It's sad to see this stuff happening in Philly and all these other cities. Doesn't just because it happened in Philly doesn't mean it doesn't happen everywhere else. Like, you can go look across the United States, everywhere. That's just not publicized, not a lot. Nobody talks about it. Nobody wants to talk about that. But now it's being publicized again. Like, this happens all the time, and now we're going to make a big deal out of it. No, we should be making a big deal out of it, going to these communities, helping everybody out, regardless.
For sure.
I just want to. We got a dude in the chat, but Wani said personal responsibility never went out of style. Poverty is not an excuse. So when we say something like poverty, Bwani, I think you don't understand. Like, so I grew up in this neighborhood, so I share something that I don't usually put on screen. Greasy know I've been indicted and brought in for murder before, and I actually beat the charges. I have a, you know what I'm saying, I give a whole, a thing about that. But when I'm living in a community where somebody tell me what they're gonna do to me, they're not playing with me. They not say, you know what I'm saying? So what I do if I'm a kid and I come out these streets and I'm 15, 16 years old, and he tell me he gonna, you know what I'm saying, push my hat back when he see me. You know what I'm saying? It ain't no police you could tell for that. They don't want to hear that. It ain't nothing you can say. I gotta live here every day. And when I come out the door, you know what I'm saying, that's going to be what it is. You know what I'm saying? We're going to handle it like that. And it don't matter how strong your mind is. It don't matter what you know. It ain't nowhere to go. And that's just the reality. You know, we dead broke. My cousin live around the corner in this same, you know what I'm saying, in this same community. Well, I'm going to go around the block to my auntie house. We all live out here. You know what I'm saying? So that's a reality for some kids. And it's not kids' first time. That kid was in a wheelchair. He'd already been shot before. Everybody on that porch, that probably wasn't their first time. You know what I'm saying? That was just a Friday night, a Saturday night. And they're going to get up and they're going to have to do it again. Yet no, police don't want to hear that somebody wants to unalive you, Bwani. Not in the hood. They don't care.
What you was gonna say?
2 things. One, all the police would do is say that they can do a restraining order if you feel scared. Which, yeah, okay. Right. But one thing that did catch me, I'm really big on words and what words people use. And in what the the police chief was saying, he wasn't specifically talking at one point about those guns and those children. He said gun owners, just straight gun owners, which for me, I'm a big Second Amender. I like the Second Amendment. It raised a little red flag for me. So that just kind of got my head scratching a little bit.
Well, this has been a emotional night, and Doc called me greasy. That's what they call me. They call me greasy. He was talking about me, but I don't know what happened to Vulgar, but I guess it's about to get more emotional. So we'll talk about this.
Never sue the other driver after a car accident. There's a better way to get paid.
Let me let that ad play.
Paid a way bigger check without having.
Oh, I thought that was the topic for a second.
Right. I was like, is that good information?
was like, wait, what?
Wait, hold on. Right.
For the parents who are waiting, particularly that had children in Camp Mystic. Camp Mystic is a camp that has over 750 kids. Right now, there are 20-some that aren't accounted for. That does not mean they've been lost. They could be in a tree. They could be out of communication. We're praying for all of those missing to be found alive.
Let's bring in CNN's Ed Lavandera, who joins us over the phone as he is on his way to one of the affected areas. Ed, what more do we know?
Well, Boris, we know that this is unraveling to be a nightmare situation for hundreds, if not thousands of families in this Texas Hill Country, Central Texas region where rainfall has fallen. Not only has, as what the lieutenant governor there said, that there are still some 20 children believed to be missing from that Camp Mystic, which is a popular camp that children attend during the summer here in Texas. But the sheriff is also now saying that there are at least 13 dead, and that death toll could continue to rise in the hours ahead as crews are still trying to search for survivors or any of the victims that are still in the path of the Guadalupe River there in the Kerr County area. This is an area where rainfall has fallen for almost 24 hours in very intense ways. And it's not just there in Kerr County, but the rainfall areas have dramatically affected much of central Texas as well. So as we've been driving in, we're making our way through the Texas Hill Country, and there are rivers and creeks.
Mia, you've been talking about this a lot. You said you were very emotional when this happened. What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so when I first saw the footage and heard of this, I'm going to be dead ass. I was driving and I was crying because I have, my children are going to be at camp next week. And I cannot fathom dropping my children off, saying goodbye, and realizing that is the last time I'm ever going to see them. And then to know that drowning is not an easy way to go. Yeah, and there's nothing that I could possibly say to alleviate any pain from any of these families. And I think everybody needs to pray for Texas, also New Mexico now, because now they are undergoing some of similar things. And there have been a couple toddlers or young children as well who have lost their lives with these quickly moving flash floods. For me, it's unfathomable. I can't even imagine.
For sure. Heaven?
It's devastating. I couldn't imagine. I couldn't put myself in those parents' shoes. But also I feel like the government's response has been shameful, not only on the federal level, but on the state level. Thank God for Mexico, actually, for coming in with their special teams that I guess they have overflowing flood issues with rivers down there. So they have special training, and Mexico still has hundreds of people down there in Texas helping. So although we are hunting people down and deporting them, the global community still has care in their hearts, more so I feel than our government does for the people of Texas, and understanding that they're human beings and feeling their pain.
Enzo?
No, I just think it's a absolutely terrible situation all around. You had a flash flood who really thought the water would raise 36 feet in that quick of a succession. Like Mia said, I couldn't imagine being a parent and dropping my kid off at camp, and then I get that call, or we never hear from them again, and something like that happened. I will touch on. I'm not going to sit here and point the finger and say, well, the government this, the government that. The efforts that have been done from the government has been, in my opinion, good so far. I mean, we could talk about Mexico sending people over to help. Great, that's great. Why don't we highlight the American people and what they've done thus far? But the one Coast Guard's yeah, the one guy from the Coast Guard who saved 100 over, I think it was like 165 people. I mean, and then Ted Cruz was on the phone with the president of right after it happened, saying, Donald Trump saying, whatever you need, you got it. They got National Guard there, they got Coast Guard there, they got everybody and anybody to help out and everything like that. This isn't this administration's fault. This administration's fault. No, this is literally a life-changing event for us to just sit here and dehumanize people. Because I've been on TikTok and I lost my shit last night on somebody saying, oh, this is what they deserve. This is what Republicans deserve. This is what Texas deserved. I'm glad those kids are dead. And they're like, I'm like, are you serious right now? They're like, yeah, this is all because of Donald Trump. He has blood on his hands. He caused this. He's the reason for this all happening. How are you going to sit here and say that he caused a flash flood to happen for these people to unalive? Regardless, whoever is in office, we all need to come together. Red, blue,
That's the same
purple,
thing they
whatever
said
it is.
with Western North Carolina. Sorry to interject, but it's the
Oh, yeah,
same
no, you're
thing they
good.
said in Western North Carolina. Same exact thing.
I didn't hear anything like that of people on the right saying, oh, well, they deserve that because they voted for Biden or anything like that. And trust me, I paid attention to all that. I grew up in Florida with hurricanes and everything like that.
I live
Never
in
in my
North
life.
Carolina, so
I got
I
you. I'm just
heard.
saying I've
Yeah,
never heard
yeah,
any of that.
yeah. No, it
I mean, if
wasn't. No, it
that's
was
the case, like
Biden's
that's
response, I would
unfortunate.
say.
I mean, yeah, the response.
It
Yeah,
was
yeah,
the
I can.
response, not necessarily, but anybody saying that about children, period,
Yeah,
is
I know
unacceptable.
that's what just gets under my skin and everything. Like at the
Humans
end of
are
the day, we're
humans.
all
It doesn't
Americans at the
matter
end
if
of the
you're
day. Yeah,
Republican or Democrat. That's not like that. Doesn't. You're human. These are
exactly. No, I
children.
get what you're saying.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're
I
good.
want
You're
to
good.
These are
highlight.
kids. These are kids. These are people. These are mothers. These are fathers.
I want to highlight John's comment because John actually lives there. His family, I think, got involved in a flood, and he's saying this could have been prevented. They had installed basic flooding warning systems. So I think we could have done more, is all I'm saying. We live in 2025. We have the technology. And he sent some pictures to Nora. I forgot to put them on here, but my bad, John. But he was watching us before, and then this happened to him. So prayers out to John. But go ahead, Doc.
Yeah, I seen the back and forth with people online, red and blue. I don't get into that. I don't really have a side usually. I just think that it's a tragedy what happened to kids. It's a tragedy what happened to these people. New measures need to be put in place going forward. And I think as far as, I mean, someone has to be held accountable. I mean, people are saying it's getting upward of 200 people lost their life. It isn't a moment most of us go out of this door or out of this house without a phone in our hand for some alert, for some sort of, warning to be given off to someone to try to make some attempt at something. So I think someone has to be held accountable and not fired and keep their pension and allowed to retire early. Like this needs to be life-changing for someone as it was life-changing for these people, because it's a life-changing situation. And it always hurts when you get to see it happen to kids, because that's potential that never gets to be realized. And I think that's something that's a big thing. That's a problem when a child doesn't get to realize their potential. Is nothing worse. So, prayers for all of those people. And I just hope, I hope we are taking the steps as Americans, red, blue, green, to make sure that these people get the things they need, the support they need, and that we can come together and get that done, because we send so much aid to other countries that, just over the years, over decades, we've spent so much money on foreign aid that, I think when it comes to American aid, it should be a no-brainer, so it wouldn't matter if Trump was in office, Obama was in office, whoever, it just needs to be done for the people. So
yeah, so I want to play one last quick video. It'll be quick because everybody basically went around with them talking about blame. So the big thing that people are talking about is that the DOGE cuts, and the job that was cut is called the warning coordinated meteorologist. So they're trying to say that job wasn't filled, and that was like the issue. But this is Abby Phillips from CNN talking about it.
Of it all was essentially all the things that the federal government is spending money on for the most part is waste and fraud. But clearly, there are some things where spending money saves lives. And it may not save lives in the moment that you spend it, but at some point, somebody's life, somebody's child could have been saved.
Well, I think something that gets lost in this is the DOGE cuts have actually not taken effect. They don't take effect until October 1st. And if you talk to the National Weather Service, they say we had 5 staffers instead of the normal 2 that were on hand. We were giving alerts on Thursday. And you're right, it did go back to the localities, but that's where the money goes. And it's up to a local municipality or a town to say, hey, yeah, we can afford this or we can't afford this. They put in for a federal grant. They didn't get it.
Oh, I'm glad you played that. Because I was going to mention that because I sent you guys the link to the Associated Press. So the plot thickens. Obviously, the DOGE cuts hasn't taken effect. So we can't blame it on DOGE if DOGE hasn't cut any money. And then secondly, the Associated Press said normally that office in Houston, that particular part of Texas, only has 2 people, and that night they staffed it with 5, and they were actually alerting people over 24 hours in advance, like, phones, TV, telling everybody like, hey, this is going on. So I mean, it's super easy to be like, oh, there were these cuts and it's the forecaster's fault and da 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 da. But in actuality, they had over double than they normally would staff specifically for this. So, and then you have, the fire chief, Houston fire chief or whoever, he got fired because he's the one that denied the rescue swimmers. He knew in advance, obviously through the reporting, he denied rescue swimmers for money. That was his reasoning. He said he didn't want to spend the money. So I guess if we're going to point blame, we're going to have to point at that the fire chief that was fired, because he explicitly denied the use of his teams, of his firefighters that were rescue swimmers for that entire situation, which they could have been deployed like 24 hours in advance and obviously could have helped way ahead. Which I thought was interesting. Nobody's talking about that man who lost his job, who specifically said he didn't want to spend the money on saving children's lives.
For sure. So, Enzo, why didn't you just tell the person the DOGE cuts didn't take effect when they were going off? Is that what they were trying to say?
They don't. I'm sorry to say it. Like, I've lost all faith, all humanity with people on the left. With most people on the left. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I've lost all faith doing TikTok debates. Like, I've literally lost it. People want to sit here and say, well, the right only lives in la la land and believes everything Donald Trump and Fox News tells us. But when you bring the facts and you bring the evidence and you bring the sources, they sit there and deny reality. They sit there and deny reality and be like, oh, that's fake. That's fake. That's all made up. That's not real. Literally give them the exact website, screenshot it, put it up in the background. Nope, that's fake. You made that up. I said exactly that it doesn't go into effect until October. Nope, that's wrong. They cut those people. They don't have their jobs. There was only 2 people. There was only 2 people in that weather station. They didn't know. Nope, they did wrong. This is all because of them. This is what I hear on the daily with every little topic that I bring up. And I'm, like I said, I've lost it. Like I can't. I literally cannot deal with this anymore with the left. Like, you guys are so deluded over the last 4 years. You ate up every single thing, every little bit that CNN put out there, and all your news stations. But they want to sit here and cast blame and say that we're uneducated, that we're low IQ. Like, I think it's ridiculous. Like, I really, really do.
I think you gotta take a vacation from the lives because it's a lot of trolling on there too, for sure.
I'm trying.
Heaven, what do you think?
I understand that the DOGE cuts didn't go into effect, but some people who were offered in the federal government, who were offered their early out, took an early retirement. So that one individual was not there. However, the alerts went out. I think it's not a a Trump, Obama, Biden, whoever. I think the government fails the people in every national event, because in the military, we have the capabilities. We could set up tents, cots, have a whole different tents all set up, take our buses, because soldiers, a lot of them know how to drive buses, because we have our own buses that we have to drive each other around and to things, and bust those people out of there, then have disaster crews go in and clean up so we don't have a loss of life. And it's a government's failure, not a failure of the people to get out of the way. A lot of people can't. A lot of people can't. It is the government's responsibility, regardless of who is in charge of the government. We pay taxes. Our taxes should go to things that protect us from things like natural disasters. Protecting us is not coming up in afterwards and picking up the bodies. No, that's reactionary. We're smarter than this as a nation. We can be better prepared than this as a nation, but we're not. And that's a governmental failure. And until we, the people, stand up and say, whoa, whoa, whoa. The government needs to be doing something with our tax dollars. You can't just deny funds. You can't just stop the FEMA funds that were going to North Carolina. You shouldn't have to pay FEMA funds after if you take people out first. Then you put crews in to go in and fix everything up as much as they can and let people pick their lives up without having to experience loss of life and such tragedies.
For sure. Doc?
And I mean, I'm not sure about some of the stuff about the government, because I just wonder if some of this just like human negligence. Like, you live in Florida, you done lived in Florida your whole life. Hurricanes are coming every year. No matter how bad they tell you are, sometimes you just stay in your house. You know what I mean? And that's just a reality. You know what I'm saying? That's how people actually, you know, react to things. And maybe it shouldn't be, but that's just the world we live in. And even the people who are screaming government cuts and stuff, I mean, I don't give the, you know, the government a break. Well, these are people who sit in the office looking at a computer. I've been in the middle of Iraq shorthanded, and nobody wants to hear about how many jobs and tasks you got. You know what I'm saying? You got to get it done, brother. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a hard thing, because you look back and people lose their life, and you just wondering how to do it differently. And just hopefully, you know, moving forward, they put better things in place. And this is an eye-opening event for people, and they take it more seriously, because something like this is you know, just what, you know, unfortunately will change, you know, the way they handle it next time.
For sure, for sure. Doc and Heaven, do y'all know each other? No?
No.
Y'all was at Fort Drum. I was in a 210
Oh.
with Heaven, but I was at 215 with Doc. But she
Oh,
didn't know
215. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no. I started out at 431, so don't try me, you know.
For sure, for sure. But Heaven, thank you for coming. Glad you showed
Thank you
up.
for having me. I appreciate it.
Give us your final thoughts, and tell us what you think of the Man Cave.
Final thoughts. Final thoughts is, regardless of left or right, we're human beings. And we are failing each other every single day. When we stand up and demand more, then we'll get more. We don't have to depend on the government for everything. Clean air, clean water, clean food, healthcare, education, those are all human rights. Without the government, nature and community provide those things. We don't need them We need to stop dividing amongst each other. That's my final thought.
For sure. Mia, what's your final thoughts?
With so much just like uncertainty in our country, with what's happening with everything, honestly, we just need to come together. We are all Americans. The children that have been unalived in multiple states, you know, New Mexico and Texas, those are American children. We need to come together. They're not red children, they're not blue children, they're not black children, they're not white children. They are children. I don't know how many times I have to say this. All children are innocent souls. Nobody should ever bring any sort of negativity or shame to that. We need to pray for Texas. We need to pray for New Mexico. And we just need to remember at the end of the day that we're American. These are American children, and we need to come together for our community and understand that. And we need to agree that regardless of color, regardless of socioeconomic status, that these are kids and we have to take care of them.
For sure. Enzo, your final thoughts?
So my final thoughts are very good episode. What a little bit of a different change from the man cave. I like the direction it was going. Heaven, thank you for coming. Like everybody has been saying, this is a human issue, not a red versus blue issue. We're all Americans at the end of the day. We need to bring that back. We need to come together when tragedies or anything like this happens, or even things like in what happened in Philly and everything like that. We got to stop looking at it like it's a low income or issue, a black issue, a white issue, whatever it is. That's a human issue. That's an American issue. We should all come together and we should do things to prevent those type of things in Philly. But Texas, it's just unfortunate. All of these major floods, these major storms going on across the nation, all at the same. It's wild. I've seen Chicago, New Mexico, Texas. It's very unfortunate. And my condolences go out to everybody who's unfortunately lost somebody because of what's been going on with these storms. We all need to do better. And it starts from the states all the way up to the government, to the people in it. Stop being so divisive. We need to help out as much as we can.
For sure. Doc, your final thoughts?
Man, it only takes an instant for your life to change or the life of somebody you love to change. So, you got to celebrate the people you love, enjoy them, hug your kids, hug your mama, hug your granny, your daddy, give them a hug, give them a kiss. As far as we know, it's the only life we got right now. So, you got to enjoy it. So, shout out to everybody in the chat who, is having a good time tonight. And, yeah, man, let's all come together, man. Make sure you love your people.
For sure. Yeah, definitely a big shout out to the chat. It was definitely jumping tonight. Where's Vulgar? Like Vulgar, it seems like I'm hosting more and more on here. But definitely prayers out to Texas. And yeah, like hopefully the community can get better. And I agree with what everybody's saying that, we need to come together so that we can do better. And I feel like that's the answer. We do this every Monday through Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. That's 7 p.m. Central time. Tomorrow on the new party, it'll be FBA versus non-FBA at 8 p.m. And then we do lunch with a new party at 12 p.m. So if you want to come back, come see that. And if you're watching, please subscribe and hit the notification bell to know we go live. Have a good night, Man Cave.